Welcome back to another edition of This Week in Israel, where we discuss all the hot topics happening in Israeli society that you should be aware of. Unfortunately, we opened our phones Saturday night to some disturbing and unfortunate news as three soldiers were killed on the Egyptian border, protecting against a rogue police officer who infiltrated into Israel. Two of the soldiers were killed on the border itself, and one was killed about a kilometer in once this police officer had already breached into Israeli territory. Staff Sergeant Ocha Dahan, Sergeant Leah Ben Nun, and Staff Sergeant Ori Yitzhaki Luz were all killed in action protecting the country. They were 19 and 20 years old, and the assailant used an emergency part of the fence that occasionally the Israel Defense Forces use in coordination with the Egyptian government and Egyptian military, and that the entire situation is being investigated, and the Egyptian army put out in a statement saying that the officer at the time was in a chase of drug dealers, as there was a drug bust that happened earlier in the day, and he was continuing that and was then involved in an exchange in fire, but was doing his duty in following up on the matter of drug smuggling, which is definitely conjecture, and there is a great deal of drug smuggling that happens in between the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt, and in Israel. So the entire situation is under investigation, and the Prime Minister has called for the Egyptian government to also do a complete investigation. And the Israeli army radio put out a statement saying that the terrorist of this Egyptian police officer was motivated by religious extremism, as he had a Quran on him. And so it's still a lot of news still coming out about it, but that is certainly what's on Israelis' mind. A 47-year-old was shot to death, and a youth was moderately injured in the central city of Ramla, which is a mixed city, but it's mixed between the Arab community and the Jewish community, but it marks the 88th death, the 88th killing within the Arab community over the course of this past year, since January 2023. So the significant crime and murder rate in the Arab community is only going up. There have been 24 arrests for alleged involvement in these killings, but ultimately it's something that continues just about every other day. There is a report of additional violence happening in the Arab community. So it is a significant challenge that the government is attempting to work towards. They're working on what's called the 4-year plan that is designed to build greater cooperation with police and also to minimize the amount of violence happening in the Arab community. And lastly, on a much brighter note, the Israeli football / soccer team, depending where you're from, defeated Brazil 3-2, securing their place in the semifinals. And it is a really amazing moment. To defeat Brazil is in itself an accomplishment, but for Israelis to be on the world stage after they've been neglected by so many other countries in sports and competition. So this is really a very special moment for the Israeli company. There's a lot of pride happening in the streets, and the Israeli team is so tremendously connected to Israel. Many of their players dedicating their play, their games to those who were killed in this most recent altercation on the Egyptian border. So we wish them a lot of success as they make their way to the World Cup. God willing, it should be a peaceful week in Israel.